Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today we're going to be replacing the front struts on a Toyota Highlander. This is a 2009 Sport Edition, but we're going to go ahead and be replacing this, so let's go ahead and get started. These are all the items that you'll need to complete this. Obviously, you'll need a replacement strut. You can get those anywhere online, automotive stores, dealerships, wherever. Online, you're going to get a better deal, but just make sure you're not getting junk. You will need a 17mm wrench, ratchet with an extension, 22mm socket, 9/16 socket, a 12mm socket, and if you're going to be replacing the stabilizer link, you'll need that as well, but that's only if you're running into issues getting the old one off. And then you will obviously need a jack and things like that to get the car up in the air, but these are the items. Looking underneath here, you can see the one that we're dealing with. It's all damaged. Definitely has to come out. So you have a 12mm right back here holding this brake line in. And then these right here, these are 22mm. You have these two, one on each side, holding it right there. And then you will have to disconnect the stabilizer, this link right here. These can be problematic, but it's a 5.5 hex to go into center, and then a 17mm nut that you'll have to disconnect. If you're changing that out as well, you can check out my video for that. I'll have a link down in the description. And then let's head up top and I'll show you that there's three up top that needs to come out as well. Coming up top, you have this plastic shroud that has to be removed because your bolts, there's three on top that hold the strut in place. They are underneath this here. We will have to remove this windshield wiper blade here, and on the other side you would have to do that one as well. For this video, I'm just going to be showing the driver's side, but the passenger is the same process. This right here is a 9/16 socket is what you'll need to remove this, but you want to make sure that you don't get it out of alignment. If you do, I have a video showing you how to realign your windshield wipers. I'll have that link across the top down in the description. But you also have some clips. I've already popped this one up here. You can just use a flathead screwdriver to lift the center up, and then that comes right out. And then here along the front, there's little clips as well, as shown right here. That needs to come up. And then you can just pop this off. So let's go ahead and remove all this so we can lift that up, and I'll show you the three bolts underneath. Just gently pull that up. Set the blade off to the side. And then now we can lift up the rest of this. It just has some clips on it. Want to pull that off. And now I'll show you underneath what we're looking at. And here we have, there's three 16mm, one here, one here, one here. So we're going to go ahead and take those off, and then we'll be able to disconnect it down from the wheel assembly and then pop it out. You may have to use a breaker bar depending how tight these have been torqued down. And then once you get them loose, then you can just use a ratchet like I'm using here. And we're going to leave one still attached that we'll take off at the end just to hold it in place. These are very problematic, and I'll show you if we get up close. It has kind of like a hex head in the middle, which those get stripped, they get rusted, they're very problematic, and as you can see there, everything gets seized on there. Now, sometimes you may have to cut these off. I was fortunate, because since we are doing the strut, this is all coming off, but I was able to get the bottom one here to move, and I'm going to show you how we're getting it off. But if not, you're going to have to cut it. And then once you get it off, it's fairly easy just to go ahead and replace it. This is the setup that I have here. I have the 17mm. You have the nut right here, and then we have the 5.5, the input, and you can't see it on this one, but as I showed you, you can see it right there in the middle. So that's what we're going into there, and just have it on the ratchet so we can hold it in place while we rotate the nut, and then that'll pop it off. Now, if that doesn't come off, then you're going to have to cut it. We're fortunate here because this one's coming off and we're replacing the strut, but if not, you're going to have to cut it. And just do it on the ratchet. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove this. It's a 12 millimeter holding the brake line. So we'll just move that, and then that'll need to be clipped back onto the new strut. Drop that out of the way, and then we can pull this out. And then on the new one, we'll put it in the same way. So that's off. Now we can take these 22 millimeters off, and then we can pop the strut off. I'm going to use a 22-inch wrench, put it on the one side. I'm going to use this electric impact wrench that I have here. If you want to see a product review I did on it, I've used it on a lot of jobs. It works really good. I'll have it down in the description across the top. But let's put this on it. There we go. Popped it right off. Do the one underneath. I want to make sure this is secured. That's why we left that bolt up top, because when we pull these off, it's going to drop off here from the steering knuckle right here. And this is why you want to leave at least one nut connected up top. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to leave all of them, because now you have the weight pulling down, so it was a little hard to get that off. But let's head up top and take the last one off. There we are. And we don't want to be pulling on that brake line. Pull this down. And here it comes. Here's a side-by-side comparison. You can see the one on the right, how bad it looks. And then here we have the stabilizer links still connected. Couldn't get it off up there. Didn't even really put a lot of effort into it or trying to cut it, because we are, like I mentioned earlier, we're replacing it. That's how everything goes. And then we have that here where your brake line stuff connects in. Stabilizer link here. And then let's head over here to the top. But you can see the one that came off, really bad shape. Let's get the new one in. I'm going to start by feeding the strut up through there, and we'll put the 3 nuts on to hold it in place. And then we'll come down here and connect it with the two 22 millimeters. So let's go ahead and put that in place. So what I did is I pushed it up, and we went ahead and just hand threaded the nuts on top just to hold it in place while we make the connection down here near the wheel. Now to line it up with the steering knuckle to get the two 22 millimeter bolts through, it can be a little hard. So you could try to hold it yourself, but what I did is I just put just a small jack just on the flat side of the rotor. You don't want to damage the rotor, but just resting it on there, so that way you can just raise it up. And I'll show you what's going on here. So now I was able to line up the holes and then able to feed that through. So now we'll do the one on the bottom and then tighten it up. I'm going to pull the strut a little bit here towards me, and that'll line it up. Go ahead and hand tighten these, and then we'll go ahead and tighten them all the way, and then we'll torque them. These have all been put on, all tightened up, so now let's go ahead and connect for the brake line. So we'll take this piece, feed it through here, and it will bring this around, slide it up, and then we'll put this 12 millimeter bolt through and tighten it up. Next, I came up here tighten these three. These are, I believe, 15 millimeters is what they were, but they're nice and tight. Good to go. So let's take a look down here. And you can see it in there. Everything is nice and secure. Coming down here, everything's connected. These are all tight, wrapping around. So the next thing we need to do is just put in the stabilizer link right here, and then that'll wrap this up. Now to put the new stabilizer link in, we have it right here. One side is going to feed through the sway bar this way. The other one's going to come up here and come through the strut like that. And then we can go ahead, put the nuts on it, but you want to make sure that you hold it steady in the middle with a hex bit. I believe this one's a 5. The one we took off was a 5.5. Might have been just because it was kind of rusted out, but this is a 5. So we'll hold it with the 5, and then we'll go ahead and tighten the nut. Now, depending on the brand that you get, this may change. On the one that we had taken off, it was a 17 millimeter. This particular one here is a 3/4 inch for the nut, and that's a 5 right here for the hex. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead, feed that in. We're going to hold this here, and then we're just going to tighten it so that way we can rotate the stud, get it nice and tight. There we go. Don't forget to clip everything back in, put the little locking clip in. We went ahead now and put the windshield wiper arm back on. We're going to tighten this and make sure that you line it up the way you had it. There we go. Okay, well, this wraps up this video on how to replace the front strut on a Toyota Highlander. As mentioned at the beginning, for both sides it would be the same. It's recommended if you're going to do them that you do both. You don't want to just do one and not the other. So if you're going to do it, it's recommended that you do both, but it would be the same process. So that wraps up this video. If you want to see how to do the stabilizer link, I'm also doing that as well as the sway bar bushings. I'll have those links as well down in the description. But please send me any questions, comments that you may have. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.